Hello, welcome back to another video. I hope you're doing really well. Today I wanted to share some of the most irritating but best nutrition tips that actually work and get results. If you're someone who is struggling with your nutrition side of things, that you're spending a decent amount of time in the gym but you feel like you're just not seeing the results and you're wondering why you're really struggling, so you're considering, oh, maybe I need to eat less, but then you end up in this cycle of under eating and then binging later on, or you feel like you're constantly snacking through the day and you don't really want to fill your plate, and then you're thinking maybe I need to cut my calories more. When you do that, you just enter this constant cycle and this loop that's really hard to break. So I'm going to share these tips that will really help you if that is somewhere where you're currently at, as well as if you just feel like you've been training and you're not seeing the results that you want to, but you feel like you're really putting in the time. And it's 80% down to our nutrition. So we can be training for 2 hours in the gym, but if we're then, say, obviously a lot hungry because we're expending more energy and then haven't got our nutrition in check, this is just going to create this cycle of like things not really working. I was also someone who used to try and eat as little as possible, thinking that I could be as small as possible when I was a lot younger, and after years of educating myself, and also just when I tried every single diet under the sun, realizing that the only thing that would actually get me results is just finding my own flow with my nutrition and my training. So I've broken it down into 8 tips. It's hard to order these, to be honest. I feel like they're not in a particular order. All of them are equally just as important, but starting with the first one, which is to balance each meal. You might have heard this before, but trust me on this, it is just the absolute key. So when I was struggling with cravings and my energy, I used to think it was actually quite normal to have all these highs and lows in the day. So say I'd have breakfast and then I'd notice that I'd get kind of like a spike, or I'd get a load of energy quickly and then I'd soon crash, like say 10 a.m. after having my breakfast. And this was when I was having, say, oats, loads of sugary chocolate on there, lots of like sugar, not much protein or any fats, and it just spikes your blood sugar, and then that's where the crash comes into play. So swapping that out, or having more of a balanced breakfast, so I can still have my oats but make sure it's got some form of protein, carbs, and isn't packed with loads of sugar and chocolate and syrups and honey and things like that, has really helped with keeping me a lot steadier. So I generally, starting off with a savoury breakfast, seems to regulate my hunger levels and just how I feel a lot better than something that is just going to spike my insulin. When you balance your meals with carbohydrates, proteins and fats, this is going to prevent the spikes and keep you a lot more stable. And then also including more fibre-rich foods, so fruits, making sure I've got a portion of vegetables. Like, this is such an easy one to skip with your lunch and dinner, having some veggies in there to help with your digestion as well, and you're just going to feel a lot more full throughout the day. Second one, which you've definitely seen flying around but is so important, is getting enough protein. I feel like a lot of my clients and friends and family that come to me, when we have a look at their nutrition side of things, it's generally down to not getting enough protein. I think we can presume like a little bit of chicken breast, so like half a chicken breast is enough with each meal. But if you're active, you're training in the gym, and say if you're hybrid training, so you're running and lifting, generally you're going to need a lot more protein to not only just maintain your current muscle mass, but also if you're wanting to gain lean muscle, then protein is so important. It helps with muscle recovery, repair and growth, hormone production and immune function. So looking at ways that you can increase your protein intake. So one thing I always like to do is just prep things like chicken breast so that it's just in the fridge, so I can make a salad bowl and just add it to a sandwich, to a wrap, just always having things preppable and that's easy to grab. Things like having like boiled egg if you're on the go and you are working away, just prepping in advance really helps with your protein intake, rather than waiting until like 10 to 10 at night. You're thinking, oh my God, I'm nowhere near like my protein intake, and trying to get as much protein from actual foods rather than shakes. I went through a stage of having like 3 shakes a day just to try and meet my protein needs, and it just did my digestion system and my skin no favors at all. I felt just stodgy and inflamed that way. Third one is, if you are constantly snacking, you are not eating enough in your meals. So this is something that, oh my Lord, like I used to do so much. So I'd have these small meals thinking, right, I don't want to eat too much, say for breakfast or for lunch. So I try and just put like little bits, like 2 tablespoons of rice, say, on my plate, and a little bit of chicken, thinking that that, oh yeah, I'll be able to eat this and like stay full, but that is just not going to touch the sides. Like we need to be a lot more than 1,200 calories a day. That is not enough, barely for a child, never mind a 20 or 30+ year old woman or man. So I really just want to remind you of that. If you're constantly finding that you're continuously wanting to snack and not quite full after your meals, you could just do with, like I say, balancing out your plate, making sure it's a good amount of meal. Like you're much better at having a proper, balanced, enjoyable, satisfying meal that has got a good balance of each macronutrient, is high in protein. You've got your healthy fats in there like avocado, some Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, and then you've got your veggies and you've got your carb source. So like pita bread, rice, potatoes, something like that. It's definitely going to energize you, fill you up, and you won't feel the need to be constantly snacking. The fourth one is reducing your artificial ingredients in your foods and avoiding ultra processed. I want to start by saying pretty much anything that hasn't come directly from the farm is slightly processed. I am not going to be the one to tell you that you need to absolutely have no processed food, because that would be just super unrealistic, hard to maintain. I'm just talking about just having some awareness. I really don't want you to be obsessive and going into a frenzy because there's so much misinformation out there. But all I'm talking about is just having a bit of awareness around when you're in the supermarkets. Say if you're picking up something that says 0 calorie, just look at the ingredients on the back, and if you don't understand any of the ingredients, and sometimes it's just not worth picking it up, but picking up something else that hasn't been 0 calorie or 0 sugar, and you can actually understand the ingredients. Mustard is a really good one. Like I remember a few months ago, I was in, where was I? Can't remember. I was in Morrison's, I think, and there were 2 different mustards. One was slightly cheaper, one was like 10 pence more expensive. So I was like, oh, I'll have a look. Basically, the cheaper one just had a lot more ingredients on that I didn't understand, and didn't have the primary ingredients in that. So I just thought, you know what, for 10 pence more, I'll get the one with less ingredients. Just doing little swaps like that is something that's actually manageable, you can maintain as well. And the other thing is, you know, you can sometimes get, it's really convenient, like chicken breast in shops or like turkey breast. Just having a look at the ingredients, and if it's like 5% turkey, say, and 9% the rest is just, you don't even understand what the ingredients are, just trying to get the one that's like closest to the turkey breast. I always wonder when I see things like that are like literally 5% chicken, 95% God knows what, just chemicals basically in some stuff. But just being mindful, you don't need to go eliminate totally everything because it would be really difficult. But I think having the awareness is powerful. Then the 5th tip is cook more than you don't. So this one, I just mean trying to cook as much as you can from home, because obviously you know what you're putting in the ingredients. You also have more awareness around what you're actually eating, especially if your goal is fat loss or muscle gain and you feel like you want to really reach those goals. It's going to be a lot more easier to maintain for those reasons. And obviously if you have a busier job, that means you can't always cook from home. Just looking for different ways that you can stick to your, say, macro goals and finding approaches that suit you. So for me, I kind of have like my go-tos when I go to a supermarket. So say if I'm grabbing a meal deal, rather than grabbing a sandwich, I'll just grab, say, some cooked prawns, like a whole pack, chicken breast, and then try and get some sort of like rice bowl. So having these things in mind for strategies for when you have got those busy days that come up and you need to sometimes get your lunch from a petrol station, and just having strategies in place that you know to go to rather than sort of wandering around the aisles aimlessly, not really knowing what to get. You can get like a salad bowl, like you could get a wrap, like a pack of wraps from a supermarket, for example, a bag of salad, some prawns or some chicken, and make your own wrap in the car rather than like buying something. I'm not knocking every single meal deal, but sometimes say if you grab a meal deal, what irritates me is that in the actual sandwiches, it is literally like one slither of chicken breast and the rest is just like mayonnaise. It's just really unsatisfying because it's just basically bread, mayonnaise and a drop of chicken, whereas I'd just rather make my own and have more protein in there and be a lot more satisfied. And obviously with cooking at home, you actually know what oil you're using and how much you're using and what is actually there. 6th one is to have rotation recipes. So these are just go-to recipes that you know that you enjoy, that you digest well, and when you're busier and you need to cook something on autopilot, you have your go-tos. So for me, one of mine, which I absolutely love, is like beef mince with taco beans or chili beans. It's kind of like a beef con carne that I make in the air fryer. In my double air fryer, I've got my beef in one side, my sweet potatoes in the other. I can go about whatever I'm doing and it's literally done within 20 minutes, half an hour, and I grab it out and go. That's like one of my rotation recipes for when life gets busy and I'm making stuff I don't have to think too much. So having, even if it's 3 recipes like that you know you like that for me, I can just never really get bored of. I've got my ketchup on there, my avocado, delish. Same for breakfast as well, and I genuinely find that easier to maintain. I like to try new recipes each week or every other week, but I find if I'm changing it every single day, every single night, it's a lot of time as well. And we're all about ease over here. Then the 7th one is to notice how you feel after each meal. Obviously, intuitive eating is amazing, super popular as well, and something that's spoken about a lot. But I think intuitive eating can be something that's difficult to start as an approach, especially if you're coming from a place where you've constantly thought a lot about food and what's in food, or if you genuinely, say if you've got chocolate bars in the fridge and if you're someone who just feels like you just eat the whole thing, or you can eat the whole tub of ice cream and you find it hard to intuitively eat a tub of ice cream, shall we say. Intuitive eating isn't as easy as just automatically going from like one mindset to being able to know when you're full, to stop eating and to have your exact portion control. For me, for example, I've always had a huge appetite, like even when I was really small, and when I went for a stage where I just wasn't as active, like when I went to uni as well, I'd put on a lot of weight and I couldn't really understand why. So for me, it was challenging at the time to come from like a more intuitive approach, because I feel like if I take it right back without going too deep and taking too long, my dad has always given me huge portion sizes. Like I remember going around to like school friends' houses, shall we say, and even now it still comes up, like I still eat a very large portion, or people remind me that apparently my portion sizes are like a lot bigger, which is normal as well. But what I'm trying to say is it takes time to be able to eat in an intuitive way, and it's like a skill, just like anything else in my opinion. And there's strategies and ways to get close to that, but what I just want you to start doing, if you haven't already, is to just see how you feel after each meal. Like if you have a breakfast that is high in sugar and you notice that you feel tired afterwards, not necessarily always normalizing that, because for a long time I feel like I normalized feeling a bit crap in how I felt after I ate, whereas it's only when you start feeling good after eating certain foods you realize, oh my gosh, like I've lived that section of my life thinking that was normal, when you can feel so much better and a lot more full of energy. Like I used to get these real just slumps and constantly feel like I needed to rely on caffeine. You can just start by thinking, how do I feel after this meal? Writing in your phone notes, and just having that awareness is so powerful. Then the 8th tip is around hydration. So you've definitely heard staying hydrated is super important, but what you're actually hydrating with. So I used to have about a Coke Zero a day, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. It definitely got excessive a couple of years ago, and it'll be almost, or it might be over a year now, I haven't tracked it, that I haven't had a single Coke Zero, or maybe I've had it like as a mixer in a restaurant. I honestly don't think I actually have over a year, I'd say, and I can't tell you how much better my gut feels. Like I had this big bloat all the time, and I'm pretty sure that was such a big part of that was having these diet drinks so regularly. There's new science coming out around that, but I don't want to go too much into that in this part of the video, but I just wanted to share how important it is to make sure what you're hydrating with. What I have done is gone through different stages, so I don't think, say you're used to having diet drinks or even full sugar Cokes, rather than saying, right, I'm eliminating them totally, that can be unrealistic. Just swapping it out for things like, one of my go-tos is elderflower, cordial and sparkling water. Again, I got a bit excessive with that because I'd be having it with every single glass of water, but that is a really nice, it's a swap rather than thinking, right, this needs to be eliminated. I don't think anything works that well when you totally take it out. So thinking what you can swap. So now I've changed my diet drinks to peppermint tea. I look really strange sometimes in restaurants ordering my peppermint tea. Some of my friends find that really funny, but I love a peppermint tea. It really helps with my digestion, my bloating, and I find it quite calming. And sparkling water with elderflower. I had hibiscus, very fancy, and sparkling water on the beach the other day, which was nice. And just not going for like super sugary drinks just makes the biggest difference. And having like my greens, I still have my coffee. I try and reduce my caffeine intake a bit. But yeah, they are the 8 life changes that have truly transformed my nutrition and my overall health. I'd love to do another updated video on gut health if that would be something of interest. But yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this one and taken some useful info. I have also got my Flonus Club coming really soon. So that is my new community. It hasn't launched yet. Early access is available for a limited amount of time. There's limited spots. The link is in the description, and this is going to be where all my workout programs, all my recipes, just everything in one place. Also going to be hosting group calls and one-to-one calls with myself in there, and there's lots of exciting things coming like retreats, so super excited for that. Definitely keep your eyes open and on the lookout for all of that. But thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you've enjoyed this one. I can't wait to see you in the next one, and yeah.